And by the same token, LSU people, it's not over yet. This is not the end of your year, but you have a lot of reasons to be concerned. There was a lot tonight that you should be worried about. For me, the thing that I thought would be frustrating if I was an LSU fan, well, one is the secondary, but also Harold Perkins. The good Lord put Harold Perkins on this earth to go get the ball, to go get the quarterback. And they're not letting him do that. I thought when they said they're going to work him at linebacker, that it was going to be a case of making him a Where's Waldo type player where offenses would have to figure out where he was on every play. And that's terrifying if you're an offense. But Harold Perkins tonight was a spy. He was standing there 7 yards from the line of scrimmage, staring at Jordan Travis, waiting for something to happen. If you watch the last half of LSU's 2022 season, Harold Perkins is not a guy that you just wait for something to happen with. You go have him make something happen. That part was especially frustrating. And Brian Kelly got asked about it after the game, and I don't think it was a real satisfying answer.
For the first time, so there's a learning curve there. He's learning how to play linebacker for the first time. You know, we put him in a position last year where he was see ball, get ball. Now he's in a position where, you know, he's got to get over the top. He's got a back coming out of the backfield. You know, he's got to be disciplined and you know, can't lose his eyes on the quarterback mesh. You know, fourth down. There's a lot going on there, and he's trying to sort it out. You're catching a young player early on in his career, and he's going through some growing pains.
Maybe just let him see ball, get ball. He's really good at that. I don't know that you're helping him because in the NFL, edge rushers make more than off-ball linebackers. So who's that helping? I don't understand that. I just don't. Now, as far as the secondary goes for LSU, that's a personnel issue. It's a shocking personnel issue because we're just not used to seeing that from LSU. We're used to seeing them having a stock cupboard where there's always some stud who's about to go to the NFL after year 3, and there's always some freshman who's going to come in and start, and he's going to go to the NFL after year 3, and there's like 2 more of those guys that are on the way. But that is not where they're at right now. That is not where LSU secondary is. And Brian Kelly got asked about what they could have done differently with Florida State's receivers, and his answer was quite telling.
It means everything as to what our mindset is. Like, how do we handle this? Is this who we want to be?
Oh, that is not the receiver's answer. I'm sorry. That is the mindset answer. I will get you that receiver's answer. Well, I don't really need to get it for you. It was basically, he said a couple things about the receivers and the matchups, and then he basically said, no, there was nothing more we could do. And he's right. There's nothing you can do with Keon Coleman, who, by the way, from Louisiana. Probably the bigger question is, how does LSU respond to this? And I was playing this quote before when it was in the wrong place, but this is the time when I want to play this Brian Kelly quote because it is very interesting.
It means everything as to what our mindset is. Like, how do we handle this? Is this who we want to be? Or do we look at this and say, this isn't the kind of football team we want to be? So, you know, when you have these kinds of losses, they're disappointing. In some instances, they're devastating losses. But it's how you respond to them. And they have a chance to respond to this very disappointing performance in the second half. And so the choices they'll have to make will be ones that start tomorrow. How they handle themselves 24/7 is really what I'll be interested in seeing.
Brian Kelly was really critical of himself and his coaching staff after the game. He called it an abject failure of coaching. And, you know, I think there's probably a lot of LSU fans who would agree. I think, you know, there's probably some LSU fans calling into their radio shows right now that are probably just irate. This is not how they play. LSU is not the type of program that just gets whooped. And this has happened actually a couple times since Brian Kelly got there. And I think it's interesting because they overachieved last season for sure. They should, you did not expect them to beat Alabama, did not expect them to win the SEC West. So you've got to give them credit for that. You've got to give the staff credit for bouncing back from that FSU loss at the beginning of the season and then winning those games. They did get destroyed by Tennessee at home. They were not competitive in the SEC championship game against Georgia. That also happened. So if you're LSU, where the standard is winning national championships, and your last 3 head coaches have all won national championships, and you brought in Brian Kelly to win more national championships, that is what has to be done. That is where you've got to go. You cannot ever have nights like this because you don't see Alabama get beat like this. You don't see Georgia get beat like this. It doesn't happen. And those are the teams that consistently compete for national titles. I think Brian Kelly was trying to manage our expectations for most of the summer, though. If you look back at SEC Media Days, he was saying over and over again, we're a few recruiting classes away. Not sure we're deep enough yet. Well, I think that showed. That showed in the second half when they were just getting pulverized up front, which is not something you expect to see from LSU. They never matched up with Florida State's receivers. And again, not being good at the secondary is crazy to think about. With LSU, LSU always has players in the secondary. It's like Arrested Development. There's always money in the banana stand. There's always corners at LSU, except now there's not. So they've got to get that all worked out. Let's hear a little more from Brian Kelly.
Pushing you around, 31-0 run.
Yeah, I'm quite aware of the score, and I didn't like the way we came out. I sensed it, I felt it, and I've got to take accountability and responsibility for the way that we came out in the second half. It's disappointing, but the buck stops with me, and I've got to get our football team to understand and recognize that you've got to play this game for 4 quarters with the mentality, and we just did not. For some reason, we thought we were somebody else. We thought we were the 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs or something. I don't know what we thought, but we were mistaken.
You are not the 2-time national champion Georgia Bulldogs for sure, and neither is Florida State yet. We're not going to get ahead of ourselves. We're not going to be the people who in week 1 watch one game and overreact to one result. Okay, we were those people with Colorado, but we're not going to do it again twice in the same weekend. Okay. Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples On 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.